Alan, we're doing this. We're doing it right now, Alan. I'm going to tickle you with my lightsaber. Let's go. Let's go. It's Wednesday. Time for Hollywood on the Rock. He's got to be here.
Alan!
In my defense, that was 4:30 in the morning.
That was you at a moment. I'm going to make a new Alan Ng ASMR. It'll be ASMRing Alan. So we'll make a video.
All I can say is gauntlet thrown. That's
Oh no! Oh no! Don't! Come on, be nice. Be nice.
Be nice. Oh my God.
Prepare her for our pleasure.
We got so much to talk about now. I didn't even know where to start. I have a huge list of things that we have to talk about, but something just happened before the stream, which is why we're late. I'm not late because I was on the Neurotic Nooner today. I'm not late.
No, you are late because you're on the Neurotic Nooner.
Well, partially. You know what's so funny? I left in the middle, not in the middle, at the very end. I left basically so that I could start my lunch so I could be here on time. But something happened. Something happened, and it all has to do with this. Can you see what this is right here? Can you see? I'm going to put myself full screen for a second.
Wow. I mean, the things you do at night is your business.
Okay, so this is a lemon that came off my lemon tree, and it looks so weird. You know what it looks like? You know what it looks like? I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. It looks like, this is how my brain works. It looks like a third stage guild navigator's mouth. If you look at this lemon, which reminded me that Dune Part 2 tickets are on sale now. They have gone on sale. There's an early fan screening of Dune Part 2 on Sunday, February 25th at 7 p.m. AMC Burbank 16. If you want to join me, that's where I'm seeing it. Alan will be there as well. Dune Part 2 tickets are on sale. I didn't think they'd do this this early. We're getting a preview of it. We have a big Dune special, Dune Part 2 special we're doing on Friday, but tickets dropped literally like minutes before, which is why I'm late. But this lemon was, look at the mouth on the third stage guild navigator, and then look at this lemon. It just reminds me of a third. I'm just going to tweet that out. Maybe I'll put it. This is how my brain is working. Is everything is now a Dune. Everything reminds me of Dune. So there you go. Look at it. Looks like this lemon. So this is your heads up to go get tickets right now. They may not be on sale at every chain, but there is a early fan access screening Sunday, February 25th. Alan and I will be there. Alan, any thoughts?
If I can get tickets.
I'm in I told you what row I'm in.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I always get an
I guess I'm buying it right now.
I told you to get it. Hurry, Alan, hurry.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong date.
All right. Well,
don't stop the show for this. There we go. All right.
I'm gonna let's go through some we've got so much to talk about. So much to talk about that we're just going to go through a couple chats. We're going to launch right in. I've got 3 news stories at the top. We're going to blow through those. Then we're going to talk about Sundance and Slamdance. But get your tickets now. Get them now. Because it will. These are the early access. So it opens on March 1st. So early access, grab them and get them.
Okay, ticket bot.
All right, great. Let's go through these chat questions, starting with Eric K. Thank you for that. How many Oscar nominations for Sound of Freedom?
That is the Marvels.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, look, it's fair. The Marvels got 0, and so did Sound of Freedom. Hey, there you go. And well, thank you, Eric K, for that. JWT6577 member for 4 months. Is it a lemon off tree from 3 Mile Island? It is. All my other lemons look like lemons. This is just weird. I'll post pictures of it, but I'm going to put it next to a third. I'm looking at the Third Stage Guild Navigator and this lemon. They got the same mouth. I know, it's weird. That's how my brain, when it's like you got something on the brain, you just see everything like that. Shucksy, member for 17 months. Thank you, Shucksy. Whatever you do, do not eat that lemon, Chris. You know what? I'm going to bring it February 25th. There you go. Sean, who YouTube unsubscribed me from Film Threat. I have resubscribed and turned notifications back on, but everyone should check to make sure that they're still subscribed. Yeah, that's weird.
You know that's happened to me with other channels.
It's happened with we're to the point where like I'll actually search for the channel to see whether or not I'm subscribed, but I don't think there's anything nefarious about that. I actually just think it's their incompetence. It's just look, stuff happens. You've got this big platform. It breaks. It ain't perfect. Hey, the Marvels was snubbed by the Razzies. That shows you're really bad. Thank you, Alan Horkin. If the Razzies, which is the worst movies of the year, snubs you, that's saying something.
No, it says that they're getting paid off.
MK Solid 82 says, I love getting Chris all riled up. I get riled up. I'm excited because the movie I've been looking forward to for years, probably since I first read the book when I was 14 years old, finally gonna get to see this climactic conclusion. Lord Thoth, punch it. Get your tickets. And thank you, Lord Thoth. Appreciate you. Sifax, hail Chris and Alan. Chris, the early access tickets for Dune 2 are available. Make sure to grab them. Yeah, I got them. Thank you, Sifax.
By the way, I'm taking my daughter to see part 1 tonight.
Yeah.
And she explicitly told me that she's doing it for me because she doesn't like science fiction. I mentioned that a girl who doesn't like science fiction.
You know what? Star Wars wasn't made for her. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't made for your.
She tells me that all the time.
Well, I'm curious, Alan. We're going to talk about Dune Part 1 again. We'll kind of do a re-review on Friday, but I'd love to hear what your daughter thinks because I actually think it is made for young people, because of the age of the lead character in the book. Paul Atreides is 15.
Yeah, she's willing to give it a chance, and then of course there's Timothée Chalamet, so that's the other reason.
Well, that doesn't hurt. I do think that helps with appeal. So yeah.
I mean, let's face it. That's what made Wonka successful. It's Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, well, it shows you he's got some box office draw. He is, as you have often said, Alan, America's twink.
Yes, did I coin that phrase? Was that me?
The shape I'm in, I could donate my body to science fiction, says Roddy Dangerfield. Want biscuits, but I wanted to get this one here. Sam Dune says, the Lemon Navigator. I've traveled to Chris tree from Ix. This is literally, I have a lemon tree that is a very tiny lemon tree. It bore 5 lemons this year. Last year I had 1 lemon because I had neighbors that were walking by stealing my lemons. This year I got 5 lemons. So there you go. And Equity Group says Chris and Peter Sharetta beef was hilarious, says Equity Group.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
You know what? I don't even want to bother to cover it. If you look at my Twitter feed and my Twitter replies, I don't like to fight on Twitter. I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
But because it was making Drunk 3PO laugh, I was like, oh, I'll just do this just for my friend Jay. And so I was sort of goofing on people, but I tend to post and ghost. I've got some good ones lined up for sure. So there you go. All right. That's your warning. Dune Part 2 tickets are on sale. There we go. And I have a Third Stage Spice Guild Navigator in the form of a lemon. Look at that picture and then look at this lemon. Literally the same. It's the same picture. I'm going to post these on social media so you can make memes from them. Yes. Okay.
You need to bronze that lemon.
I'm going to bronze the lemon. All right. let's get right into it. Alan, bunch of things to go over today. Huge day, not quite prepared, but here we go. I do want to let people know this because this is important. Because I don't see a headline for this. I put it in the news, under news. I put under news. This is why I do the outline.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
The making of the quantum terror. So I'm just going to cut and paste it. I'll take care of it.
No, it's there.
Where?
Right there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Are you in the Hollywood on the Rocks branding?
Yes, I am. All right. I'm trying to do too many things. That's the problem. And I could use some help. All right.
Well,
you are an aspiring independent filmmaker. An award this winning movie, The Quantum Terror, has just released the making of The Quantum Terror. Here it is. It's Christopher Moonlight. I'm not going to say, I don't know, maybe he wants privacy here. But you can see this. I'm just going to keep it muted. We're going to have it playing here. He made a low-budget indie horror that he details the process in a video. We're going to put a link in the description. I'm not going to show it all to you. I'm just showing you clips here, but you'll get an idea. It's really important to me to pass on knowledge, right? You're an indie filmmaker, you're aspiring, you want knowledge. This is you, if you're like me, you look at like extras that are on, the big 4K Steelbox Blu-rays that you get. We don't see often enough behind the scenes and making ofs for smaller independent movies. Here's your opportunity to check out a film that's on a lower budget level and how to do these effects. He's literally demonstrating for you exactly how he's doing these effects. One of it is just to run the film, run a shot backwards so it looks like something is going inside you instead of coming outside of you. There's a really great shot. Now, when I tell you this, you're not going to believe it. You'll notice it. There's a shot in The Empire Strikes Back where Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker puts his hand out and a lightsaber lands perfectly in his hand and he goes like this. Do you know how they did that? All Mark Hamill did was take a lightsaber and go and throw it. And then they ran it backwards so it looks like it landed directly in his hand. Most of the special effects in the original trilogy Star Wars films are a compilation of every special effects technique you could use, including running film backwards, using things like matte paintings, very, very simple ways of doing big budget special effects. And it's important to me that the Film Threat channel not only talk to you about independent films worth your time, being honest about Hollywood, but telling you how to do these things. And Christopher from The Quantum Terror, who's been so gracious, I just wanted to make you aware that this video exists, and we're going to link it in the description because I do think it's important. Alan, any comments on that?
You said it all. Sorry, I can't be
there
more
you go.
profound than that. Yeah.
And Christopher Moonlight Productions, subscribe to his YouTube channel, just says, cheers, Chris. There you go. Storyboards. He talks about techniques. You see him using green screen. You can do big budget effects for indie films on a low budget level. It's all about planning and being imaginative. I actually do think that sometimes when you don't have a lot of money, it forces you to be creative. And what George Lucas did in 1977 without computers, or at least digital renderings, right? He was using computers to do the X-Wings and the ships and whatnot. Basically, that was used to replicate certain actions so they could just have the camera run a certain action over and over. That's it. So check that out, and I appreciate it. All right. Now a quick reset. We're going to do a quick reset. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose that. And there you go. Here, hang on. I know what I'm doing next. Nope, we're not going to do that because copyright. We're doing this.
Okay.
And Hundreds of Beavers we're going to save for later, next week, because I love that movie.
Yes.
It's coming to theaters. We're gonna look at that. Okay. Here's what I want to present to you, and you're not going to believe it until I show it to you. So I am not big on TikTok. I mean, Film Thread has a TikTok. It's kind of dead. We don't really know what to do with it.
We haven't posted there in a long time.
We don't really post there. I'm going to have to put my headphones on for this. But someone tweeted at me this incredible metal song that was posted on TikTok. And I'm going to share it with you momentarily. It's a metal song about the Star Wars sequels that effectively, what it does is it sums up kind of a lot of people's feelings about the sequels, the Star Wars sequels, and kind of how dumb they are. I'm going to go screen on this. We're just going to watch it and listen to it. I do recommend that you check this out. We'll put the link in the description. This was from TikTok. It's a 2-minute video, but what's amazing, if you can't understand the words, what they did is they sorry, that's in my head here. Let's go full screen. Let's watch this. If you can't understand the words, they're in subtitles for you. Let's check this out. It's from Lost_Souls Movement. Let's go. Let me just say, that is epic. I could listen to that on repeat. I freaking love it. And I just want to share it. I want more. That should be 10 million views right now. But we're going to share the link in the description for everybody. Alan, any thoughts? Because I know you're seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, no, that was great. I love it. Heavy metal. Also, the fact the animation, I love it. You know, we talked about indie filmmakers. There are virtually almost no genres that indie filmmakers can't do and can't do well. Yeah, I would say high budget action is the only genre that indies can't do. You know, high speed car chases. You know, falling off buildings. I'm not sure indie film is there yet.
Well, look, I think there's a lot that indie filmmakers can do. It's how you tell the story.
Yeah.
You know, it's how you tell the story. Like, God, it was some of the weird tips of like, how do you tell story? Like, let's say you can't afford to go to Paris, but you want one of your characters to go to Paris. You have them wear reflective sunglasses and put a poster of the Eiffel Tower in front of them so that the reflection shows up in the glasses. I know that sounds stupid. You could blow up a car. There's a way to blow up a car. One, you just don't show the car blowing up, but you show the reaction to the car blowing up. You've got sound. You've got a giant light flash, somebody, you know, moving away, and then you just put pieces of fire in the debris after. There's ways to do anything in telling a story. I think digital effects has made people lazy. You can do anything. But all I'm saying with this is very creative. I could listen to it on repeat. My only purpose in doing this is to make people aware of it. And there you are.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Moving on.
Animation, the tools, your ability to do animation is literally off the shelf now.
It's off the what?
You can get it off the shelf. All the tools to do animation, you can buy off the shelf.
Well, I mean, there's so many different tools. It's incredible. The amount that you'll be able to, you know, and also, but what I'm just saying is, even forget tools. Right. There are ways of telling a story that don't involve you spending money. Absolutely. That's my point. That is my point. That is important. Yeah. So there you go. All right. I had something else I wanted to show you guys.
Do you want to do comments on that one?
Oh yeah, let's do some comments. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry. Let's see. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Forget someone. Yeah, forget film.
Here, how about this? How about I'll read the comments.
Yeah.
Forget film festivals.
No, it's like just go ahead. Okay.
Independent filmmakers point me to Tubi. There you go. Lord Thoth saying, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Join us as a member. Get Alan to do TikTok dances, says Equity Group. And there you go. And from Rumble, Caveat Ties supporter for 2. Maintenance tech here. One question. How does one get involved with set building? I don't have an answer for that one. Set building, I would go on IMDb, look up the names of people who have credits that are in set building. I would email them directly from IMDb. That's a way to do it. And another continuing from Rumble, Caveat Tie Sport, it sort of deals with creative special effects. That's right. And Brock Samsonite says that was Metalocalypse level good. Yeah, I sort of got Metalocalypse vibe from that. And Laura Buckles says, I was until the sudden low, Kylo Ren's a bitch. That part made me laugh. Suns and Shadows says there's some metal to it, but that is not pure metal. Oh, you're so picky. And Aaron Taylor says, given the emotional instability of Star Wars fans, perhaps it's the perfect fit that Disney bought them. Star Wars fanboys seem as intolerably cringy as Disney adults. At this stage, yeah, it's fine, but whatever. We can make fun of it. I love it. All right, let's do this. I need to tell you something. A lot of people ask us, this is a question that we get all the time. Alan's going to help me with this one. It's very simple. Yep. How do you get your movie reviewed on Film Threat? You just go to Film Threat. Go to filmthreat.com. There's a little button at the top. It says submit your film. You can submit your movie. It's as simple as that. Film Threat will review anything. How do you think these indie filmmakers get their films reviewed? Very simple. Go to filmthreat.com, click on submit, send us your movie. Alan, do you want to say anything about this?
Yeah. We get about 200 submissions every month.
It depends. If it's around like fest, it's like 100 a week.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah, like
it
right
varies
now,
between
we're
50 and 100 a week. Yeah.
And
I know because I see every submission that comes in.
Yeah. And I will say that because we get so many, there are ways to get your film to the front of the line. And
anything?
What?
Anything?
Yeah, anything?
Yeah, short films, anything.
Yeah,
now,
episodics.
A lot of people,
proof of concept.
Yeah. So yeah, like episodics, so web series, short films of any length, movies playing in film festivals. Most importantly, I think if you're a filmmaker that has a movie, it's coming out on Amazon Prime Video, submit your film. And then as Patrick Lemire says, dominance and submissions. So there you go. This is just a reminder. We don't do it often enough. And Alan's like, we should remind people that you can get your movie reviewed on Film Threat, because we're about to talk about a bunch of really small indie films playing at film festivals. And you know what? A lot of those filmmakers, they submit their films to Film Threat. So go to filmthreat.com, click on submit. Alan, what else do you got to say?
Yeah. If you want to, again, look, a lot of times it helps to have a review of a film, and we're here to get it for you. That people use it to help get them into festivals, into other things, other competitions. It's got to be good. We're just not going to blanket give you a good review, but we do see the potential that indie filmmakers have. As Chris calls them often, they are like birds with broken wings. You don't have the resources that big studios have, and we see the potential in your story, and we treat your films as such. We do get a lot of films each week. We only have, I would say, about 15 active writers. We have about 30 on staff, and we go through them. We basically, they look at the log line, so nail that log line, give us a killer log line, and we may choose it. But also, we have a system called the Fast Pass system, and for a small fee, it puts your film right up to the front of the line, and
you'll get it within 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. Sometimes you're going through it, and you're just kind of looking for a log line that stands out to you, and a lot of times, maybe the log line's not that great, but the Fast Pass has certainly been able to get really good films in front of our eyes. I'll say, this one came in. You got to see this one. It's incredible. But I would have passed it had it not been kind of.
What was that one incest comedy that you like texted me and you're like, you need to see this?
Oh yeah, it was Call Me Brother.
Call Me Brother. Oh my God, I never would have seen that movie if Alan was just like, dude, you're not gonna believe this movie.
Yeah,
and those are actually my
favorite. That one is on Saturday Night Live right now.
Cool.
He made.
All right. Let's move on here because we have so much to talk about. Today, Sundance and Slamdance film festivals have kicked off, but I am asking a question. I'm going to ask this question out loud. And are film festivals still relevant? Do you need to be at Sundance, Slamdance, whatnot, for your film to be considered an important movie? Okay. I think that there are more options for filmmakers at this moment. I'm going to zoom in on this and share screen with you. A filmmaker, he is mostly a producer. His name is Ted Hope. Who is Ted Hope? He is a guy who has produced some of your favorite independent films, including the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey. That's just one of the films that Ted Hope has produced. He is solely a producer. He's not a writer. He's not a director, but he also develops talent. And Ted, I believe, has been a very positive force in the world of independent film. Why is he positive? Because he asks questions. And today, actually in Park City, Utah, he's doing a panel about with actually I believe it's Slamdance, called Reimagining the Film Festival, a hope for film. But this has kicked off a discussion, interestingly, about film festivals. I actually commented on this and I said that I don't know that if it's Reimagining the Film Festival. He goes on to say, it is time for a complete rethink of film festivals. They don't work for everyone the way we wish they did. As much as I have a deep and intense love for film festivals, I think it is time to tear them down and build back the better model. Want to talk about it? And then he has a panel. Now, we're going to go through the comments. I completely believe that the Sundance Film Festival is good for a specific type of filmmaker, but not everyone. I'll say this. Part of the reason Film Threat runs the way we do is because we want to support as many different types of filmmakers as possible. I'm just going to go through some of the comments here. I know some of these people. I totally agree. However, film festivals have to reinvent themselves every year. We are chameleons in order to bring the audience back time and again. And Zeke Zelker, who is a film producer who I happen to know personally, I've always said that fests should pay filmmakers. Since the festivals are making buckets of cash by screening their movies, filmmakers need more than potential. Potential doesn't pay the rent. And then you see right here that Chris Gore says film festivals are simply not as relevant as they used to be, especially for true indie filmmakers that are up and coming. I'm tired of going to a festival only to see a movie that will be playing next week on HBO Max. There are more options for filmmakers to release their movies, and a festival doesn't have to be part of the plan any longer. Heidi Van Leer, who just wrote an article for Film Threat, she goes on to say, completely agree. And when I see you at Slamdance, I'll tell you my silly ploy to help this along 15 years ago. It's so dumb. It could have worked. Great comments here. You should follow Ted Hope on Instagram. Alan, do you have any comments on this, on what Ted's talking about and the commentary?
Yeah. I mean, film festivals used to be kind of the gathering of people. Sundance, probably the most well-known of that. The important people come to Park City and they watch films. And I think even before the pandemic, the year I went, which was like months before the pandemic, you just kind of saw you saw the disinterest starting to appear. I went there and it was the film festival. The big stuff was mostly, as you say, movies that are already on HBO Max or coming to Amazon, and or already have a theater deal. And then you have all these other small films that are just begging for someone to get out of that big theater and come watch their movie. And it's the festivals only work for the big Hollywood studios. It's a struggle for the small ones, and I get it. It's these big Hollywood films that draw people to the festival, but are the festivals doing a good enough job of taking those people and then encouraging them to see other movies? I'll tell you right now, it's Wednesday, and most people have already left Sundance. Everyone who was there for the big opening weekend, they're gone. They went home, and so now they're begging for people to interview the talent who have movies at Sundance, and to get people into those theater seats at all. And
Well,
that's kind of the state of where Sundance is right now.
Here's the problems that I have with Sundance, okay? And I will forgive them this. They play a lot of movies with big celebrities, and those get the bulk of the attention. That's not the fault of Sundance. That's the laziness of the journalists that are there. The journalists that are attending Sundance are lazy, so they always gravitate towards the celebrity-driven red
It's the
carpet.
access. It's the access they don't get at their hometown.
Exactly. So they always gravitate towards the celebrity-driven things. So a small film like The Quantum Terror or Clerks may not get the attention that it deserves. These small, true indie films that Film Threat has a history of supporting. We've supported these types of small movies. That was a good question. Go back to please star that. It went away. I don't know why it went away.
What are you talking about?
I see this thing's being starred, and I can't do two things at once at this moment. But I'll just say that, so there's a couple things. The celebrity-driven movies that take the bulk of the oxygen in terms of press and attention. That's a problem. It's lazy journalists doing that. The second thing is premiering a movie that's going to be next week on HBO Max. That's not even a joke. That happens every year. They use it. Netflix, HBO Max, among others, uses Sundance as a platform to launch certain movies. Sometimes it's documentaries. I'm not saying these are bad films. I'm saying they don't need the help. The other thing is a lot of movies that are bigger films that there's this perception that Sundance, it's like a backdoor market. In some ways that's true. In other ways it's BS. It's like a wrestling match where the outcome before the wrestling match takes place. So what happens is you see all these announcements of movies being acquired. Those movies were acquired months ago. It was kept a secret, and they announce it at Sundance where they know most of the media. Well, it'll be a front page story on Variety, The Reporter, Deadline, IndieWire. So they save the announcement for Sundance. So giving the perception that the movie sold at Sundance, when the truth of the matter is it was announced at Sundance. And again, also, that's not Sundance's fault. The fault I have with Sundance is they only champion on the one side of the political aisle a type of movie. And anything that breaks with sort of mainstream narrative, they don't. There's not a diversity of thought at Sundance, and I was hoping that there would be. We'd be evolved enough to be able to showcase movies that might have some troublesome issues worthy of discussion.
Yeah, like they would never show an honest look at January 6th, the documentary about that.
Well, or many other issues. I would say that documentary film. This is a separate topic probably, but documentary film is compromised. Documentary film is so politically divided, and most documentary films are funded by corporations pushing an agenda. What might some of those agendas be? Look around. They're everywhere, and they're funded by corporations, and I like to call it art welfare. So if there's someone in the festival space that could curate a festival with differing ideas where filmmakers could come together, I'll say this. I have done my best for years to try to keep Film Threat an outlet that if you're an indie filmmaker, meaning you didn't make your movie with a major movie studio, you are welcome. Okay.
Wasn't there a year that a film got shown? I forgot what the film was, but Sundance had to apologize for showing it.
Yeah, well, that's they shouldn't apologize. They should never apologize for something like that. Yeah, it was, and they threw that filmmaker under the bus. It was disgusting.
They got one showing, and then they got the boot.
Right, but look, I love the Sundance Film Festival. Slamdance, I think, does a better job of championing the smaller indie movies. That's just me. If anything, you could look on Slamdance as kind of like a adjunct or an additional festival in addition to Sundance. But all I'll say is that festivals need to change, and I appreciate Ted Hope. I appreciate Ted Hope for leading the charge and asking the right questions. That's what I've always loved about Ted, is he asks questions and he's open to ideas and he's not afraid to ask the difficult questions. Ted, I want to get you on the show. So, so there you go. Let's go to your comments and questions here, starting with a super chat from Drunk Thepio for 2. Just says, hail. Thank you for that. Red French Moon says, so the problem is that they try to push film festivals to the bigger award shows and it ruined the whole thing. That's partly a lot of movies that win awards at Toronto and at Sundance go on to become Oscar nominated movies. Not all. It's been less.
I would think Toronto. Let's get this straight. Toronto's in autumn. So those are the Oscar ones. Right now, I would say Sundance is putting out the Spirit Independent Award type films.
There you go.
Films that are indie in storytelling style but have big names in them, and that's what they're showing.
Aaron Taylor says the diminishment of the Oscars is also helping diversify what awards and festivals people are now paying more attention to. The Barbie noms is the final blow for me on the Oscars. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. I think that Barbie's a popular movie, and that's why the Academy members are like, this movie doesn't need help. It doesn't need help. And it got nominated. I actually think Best Song is fine. It doesn't bother me. I think a lot of the technical categories went to Barbie. I have no problem with that. So,
I mean, the Oscar not going to the biggest movie of that year. I mean, how often do we say that?
I'll say this. I think that the Oscars this year will have the biggest ratings it's had in years because of Barbie and Oppenheimer. But thank you, Aaron. Appreciate your comment. Does Sundance get too many submissions, says Davina Duckworth? Sundance gets, at last count that I heard, somewhere between 8,000 and 12,000 submissions. Now that's for all movies. That's short films, features, documentaries. So between 8 and 12,000. But they only,
and I'm sure they'll want more because there's a fee associated with that.
Well, look, you can give your fee to a film festival with the off chance that you might get in, or you can support Film Threat. You can give us a small fee, and there's a guarantee. There's no guarantee getting in a festival. And just as someone who's had a movie at festivals, my Big Fat Independent Movie, I spent $2,000 on festival submission fees. Now, to be fair, I ended up getting into 40 festivals, but I probably submitted to a lot more at the time. Thank you, Davina. Rock Samsonite, are you required to submit a screener of the movie when you submit for a festival, or is the first time the festival runners see your movie when the festival runs? You are required to give them a screener. Now, you can have it's not color corrected, the sound's not mixed, that's fine. I will recommend, because it's the website that everyone uses, it's a website called Film Freeway. Go to filmfreeway.com. You fill out one form. It's very long. And then once you fill out the one form and you upload a copy of your movie, and you can change the movie as many times as you like, you upload a copy of your movie, and you should probably put a little text that says festival screener with the whatever. Then you don't have to fill out the form every time you submit to a festival, because the festival submission forms are generally the same. I mean, the form when you submit to Film Threat, the form is very similar to festival submission. And the point is, why do we do that? So we can make sure we get the data right, the spelling of the director's name or the actors. It's very important. But go to filmfreeway.com and you can create an account and you could submit your movie to a bunch of different festivals. Film Freeway will even recommend festivals for you to submit to. Davina Duckworth, don't a lot of film festivals use volunteers? Strong recommendation. If you're thinking of having a movie at a film festival, volunteer for that film festival. So you're making a movie, whatever. When you volunteer, you get to know the people on staff. You do a little networking, but it's also a way to get to know how festivals run. Also, if you look at the past movies that a festival would play, for example, I would say the Quantum Terror is not a movie that would appeal to every film festival, but there are other film festivals that Quantum Terror would be like a perfect fit for. You got to find you got to find the film festival that fits the type of movie that you've made. There are film festivals that are environmental. There are documentary film festivals that are film festivals for family and children's movies. There are horror film festivals. It's a great way to get publicity for your film. So I wrote 4 editions of a book on it. I know a little something about festivals, but things have changed. and not all in the best of ways. Brock Samsonite, because festivals can generate free publicity if you manage to make a stir at the festival. Not a bad thing. Christopher Moonlight Productions. Sorry, I'm not too attentive to the chat, guys. I'm in the office. I want to express my overwhelming gratitude towards Chris and Alan for putting the Quantum Terror out there on the stream. Of course.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you sharing information. Appreciate it. Want Biscuits. It sounds like the modern film festival is irrelevant since they've been co-opted by major studios, networks who use them solely to push their own products.
I mean, I would say the big film festival it probably falls in this. I think,
yeah,
I think the small local ones, that's their bread and butter. It's the people in their community. They know what their community wants to see, and the ones that survive are the ones that cater to that audience. And there's certainly a lot of successful small film festivals running across the nation.
Well, we got a lot of festivals to review, so let's get through these questions here. Fear the Turtle, 21 for 10. We're going through Buffy for the first time and really enjoying it. It's hilarious, but also kind of sad to see the jokes from that time that would never fly on TV now. What a good time for TV that was. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it and appreciate the super. Finbar Hooley for 5. How do you break the perception that the film festivals are just for annoying art snobs, or is that fine? Maybe the festivals should remain niche. I think that there's a certain audience that is curated. I'll say this. Alan and I talk about this all the time. The audience that's at Sundance is very different than the audience that's at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas attracts maybe a more general film fanatics and also great barbecue. And they're just way more chill as audiences. The audiences in Austin, Texas are incredible, very different than a Sundance audience. And I actually think the art snob audience is fine. It has its place. That's cool. But me, I like a good horror film at a midnight screening. Alan, any thoughts on this?
Yeah. I mean, Sundance I think genre films do really well there. And I think the thing I like about South by Southwest, I meant to say South by Southwest earlier, but there is a fairly good blend between big Hollywood stuff and the small films. And so, I think so far my favorite is South by Southwest.
I do like that a certain festivals will have kind of a vibe. And there's a film festival I used to go to. I haven't been in recent years in Oklahoma called the Dead Center Film Festival. Amazing festival, but it's small, and the small festivals are fun because it's kind of like summer camp for filmmakers. There's a small group of films, maybe 50 movies, less than 100 movies playing. You actually get to know personally all the filmmakers. Then you get to go see their movies. You're at parties together. You're going to lunch together. You're going to bowling together. It's a really good, you're drinking together. It's a really good time, and it's a great way to kind of just make friends. Yeah. From Rumble, Aid Ellis 24 says the late summer fall film festivals are the most relevant ones at the moment. TIFF, which stands for Toronto International Film Festival, Venice, Telluride, and Tribeca. Cannes will always be a unique French festival that is more relevant to the filmmakers. That's absolutely true. And the one thing you forget about Cannes, it's actually a film market. It's more of a film market than it is it's a film market to open movies to the European market. So, for example, if Disney has a movie they're going to open in Europe, they'll try to get it in Cannes. I'm not joking. Indiana Jones was one of those. Adam Carolla spoke about his film The Hammer, a well-reviewed rom-com. I remember seeing The Hammer, and it was reviewed on Film Thread. The Hammer and Sundance, they flat out told him they weren't going to consider it because he's not the class of person we let in. I think it's because of his politics, and that's why. And that is Sundance's loss. Diversity of ideas, folks. How often do we have to say it? Patrick Lemire says, if you're in Austin, join the Austin Film Society. Richard Linklater is the founder, and good people who like helping. Yeah. Richard Linklater, I have met and hung out. I've gone to dinner with him, hung out with him. He sent me his movie Slacker before it was even sold to a distributor. I had like this VHS copy of Slacker that was like 30 minutes longer than the theatrical cut. And Richard is good dude. That's why he stayed in Austin. He didn't move to Los Angeles. I'm being serious. And he was one of the founders of the Austin Film Society. Quick story. Oh my God, it's like story time today. Richard Linklater, when he ran the Austin Film Society, he was also the projectionist. So he would get all the prints. And one of the things that he would do, every print at the head and the tails, they have like this thing that kind of counts down and there's like a blip. So you know to switch to the other reel. And because he got movies from all over the world, the little countdown was weird. Sometimes it would be like a flash of a single screen of a woman holding a color bar, right? To get the colors, get the brightness corrected. Or like sometimes the girl would be topless. I'm not joking. Or sometimes it would be like some weird thing because you only have a single frame. And that was when you switch over to the other projector. And what Richard did was he recorded every heads and every tails of every reel of film that came through the Austin Film Society when he was a projectionist. And he created a 4-hour video. And I still have this tape. It's called Heads I Win, Tails You Lose. And it's like a movie you'd put on in the background, and it's just the heads and tails of movies, which is the countdown, the countdown, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, like that.
Yeah, we know how that
works. All that. Heads I Win, tails you lose. It was at the LP speed. There was SP, LP, and SLP. I want to do a math problem to ask people how, anyways, if it's at the SP, if you have a 2-hour tape and you have your movie at the SP speed, you have 2 hours of video. If it's at the LP speed, you have 4 hours. If it's at the SLP speed, which is the worst quality, you get 6 hours. Okay, you're going to hang out with me. Your nerd knowledge better be solid. But thank you for that, Patrick. Metal Theory Reacts says, where does one find an archive of older Sundance films by year? Alan?
I wonder. I wouldn't be surprised if Sundance website didn't have it. I would say the best place to go is Wikipedia, probably. In terms of finding out what the films are.
Sundance.org. We did a story on this last week where we talked about Sundance actually curated a list of the 10 best movies from Sundance, but it was, I think the most recent film was from 2014.
Yeah.
That was the most recent movie. But also a lot of movies that are Sundance movies, they kind of lose the Sundance sheen and they become Oscar films. For example, a movie like Moonlight, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think was my opinion, overrated. I think La La Land should have won that year. It's the better movie that will stand the test of time, Damien Chazelle. But Moonlight, that was the year where the Oscars had they misspoke and gave the award to the wrong movie for Best Picture. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember shutting it off after they announced La La Land and didn't find out about it until the next morning.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But I would
just think Wikipedia is your best chance of finding that list.
But it's weird because they use Sundance in the marketing until it becomes nominated for Oscars, and then the marketing shifts to a different messaging. Yeah. Solomon Thornton says, is South by Southwest a good movie festival for short films? Absolutely. Also, is there any good festivals that can give a filmmaker the right exposure?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say this about South by Southwest. People show up to it. That's the thing when I used to go to a lot of film festivals, and you'd show up and you'd be one of 5 people in the audience. With South by Southwest, it's, almost every screening has people in it, has a decent crowd in it.
Not just people, it's packed. It's packed.
Yeah. I mean, particularly, even like I said, if you can get into South by Southwest, you will have an audience at your screening.
Yeah, it's the thing, like, even for I've never heard of this, I just want to get in. It's what that is from. It comes from the trust of the audience that's been trained, curated. They've trained their audience to be open-minded so that they trust the programmers at South by, that when they come to see something, even if something they've only know the title of the movie, they know they're in for something special.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better.
Yeah. Oh, I said there have been times where, you kind of plan out your schedule of what movies you want to see. And sometimes there'll be a big gap in between movies. And it's like, oh, I could I could slip in another film. And sometimes those movies that I've slipped in have been amazing films. I can think of two. One was Wild Rose, starring Jessie Buckley, and the other was called Pig Hag. And
What?
It was called Pig Hag. It was actually pretty good, but I don't know where it went. It was about an overweight woman who was trying to get laid.
Well, there you are then, Alan.
Yes, they make movies by them. And also a really good film festival that I had the pleasure of being invited to last year was the Oak Cliff Film Festival, where the infamous chair incident happened. But this one, it's in Dallas. It's done at the Texas Theater where Lee Harvey Oswald died, and they are well sponsored, and they do share that with the filmmakers. So
Well,
that's a good one to get into if you can.
I think the Oak Cliff Film Festival probably shows incredible movies, but I have issues with their chairs.
Yes,
I think the chairs are going to be a problem.
They need to work on that chair thing.
All right. Do you want to talk about Sundance or Slamdance first, Alan? Because I have not seen, I've only seen one Sundance movie. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, let's do Slamdance then. Well,
No, let's do Sundance first.
okay. Yeah, let's do Sundance
Because
first.
I've seen only one.
Okay.
All right, it's time to talk
You know
about.
you know how this works in my family? Hey, let's do Sundance first.
All right, Alan, it's time to talk about the 2024 Sundance Film Festival. Alan, it's here. It's January. It's Sundance. And the Sundance Film Festival's kicked off. Those people that are braving the elements in the weather in Park City, Utah, are being treated to some incredible movies. Before we get into specific film reviews, which we'll get into, what's your overall impression based on what you've seen so far from Sundance?
Yeah, so our film festival is relevant. Well, hey, today's Wednesday, and we have a virtual pass, so we can watch movies at home to cover Sundance. And this morning they unlocked all the movies, so now we can start watching Sundance movies starting this morning.
Yay!
So the only films I've seen I actually saw one that from that system because they're only giving me less than a day to watch it. So I've seen a movie called Exhibiting Forgiveness. The other ones were screeners that were sent ahead of time, including Never Look Away, which was the documentary directed by Lucy Lawless. So again, I you know, everyone who's involved with our coverage of Sundance this year, all we've been doing is griping all week about Sundance.
Well, that's really disappointing to hear, man.
Yeah,
but
I mean, yeah, it's but you want me to talk about films?
Let's pivot. But your general overall impression, and here's my question. Here's my question to you. Put a pin in the complaining for a minute.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to hear. I'm gonna err on the side of.
I'm very salty about Sundance.
You're a little salty.
Yeah.
You're a little salty. So, what can you say? But like, what's your overall impression based on the subject matter? Because I was of the impression with Sundance is, I don't know that they're playing as good of films as I would have liked. But the thing is this, Sundance doesn't make the movies. Sundance merely curates the films. So the issue is, are they curating movies that are not of the highest caliber, or is it that's just the movies that people are making now, and these are the voices that are being represented? So sort of give me a general overall, like, your thoughts based on subject matter and what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think this, you know, we talked about it earlier, but of course there's a general bent in terms of the politics of a lot of these. From what I'm seeing, is it's not as bad as it has been in previous years. I watched this movie Exhibiting Forgiveness, thinking it would be about the broader subject of race, but it really isn't. You know, there's one called As We Speak about a rap artist who explores the growing weaponization of rap lyrics in the United States and the justice system. You know, I think, you know, I would say that the political vibe I'm getting from this year's slate is not as bad as it was in the past. But it still leans one way.
All right. Well, let's actually start to review from some Sundance movies. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't seen this one yet. So,
all right. Dig XX is a film screening at the 2024 Sundance Film Festival. This is the 20th anniversary edition of Dig. Dig premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2004. It's directed by a woman named Andi Timoner, who is, for my money, I think one of the most wildly talented documentary filmmakers, simply because she is so dedicated to the subject matter, and she is relentless in telling her story, and she picks very interesting topics. What is Dig? Well, you can actually get Dig. You can probably find a standard def DVD version somewhere of Dig. I actually even reviewed this on Attack of the Show on G4 TV. Dig is about a rivalry between two indie rock bands, the Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown Massacre. And it's about the rivalry between these two bands. And it's very much about creativity and indie music. You could even apply this to anything indie. It's basically indie versus corporate. One of the bands, the Dandy Warhols, gets signed by Capitol Records and goes on to have an experience with the corporate music world that isn't quite as satisfying, but they do find some success. They have a huge, big budget, like over almost $1 million budget music video that's intended to be on MTV. They get all this like rolling out the red carpet treatment. And the Brian Jonestown Massacre, you know what they do? Under the leadership of the kind of wildly crazy narcissistic leader, although very talented. His name is Anton. Okay. Anton just keeps recording albums. They're like these guys that can barely afford to sleep in, like, there's like 8 people sleeping in a 2-bedroom apartment, sleeping on couches, drinking beer and smoking constantly. And they just put out albums, Brian Jonestown Massacre, but they're also a band with a reputation. Every time they play somewhere, there's like some fight or something crazy happens. They're known for like their chaos. They can never quite get it together. And the Dandy Warhols are a bit the more buttoned up professionals that are able to build a career. Now, they don't love the corporate space either. They think it's kind of BS, but they end up finding success in Europe. Dig XX. So I've seen Dig many times, and it's not an exaggeration for me to say this is probably the greatest documentary ever about music, because it's about what's underneath music, right? It's like music is about being rebellious. It's about expressing yourself without the man telling you what to do. Well, both of these bands have completely different pathways. The Dandy Warhols going the corporate Capitol Records route, and then the Brian Jonestown Massacre going the other way. And the people from the Dandy Warhols, the lead singer, like, misses just that sort of like, we're going to go in a room and just come up with a song. And the Brian Jonestown Massacre never gives up that dream. So you see through Anton, he actually ends up getting signed with a label that puts out some of their music, a much smaller indie label. And you see the pathways, and it's like, what do? Corporate or independent and be the true artist? And their music, both bands you can find on Spotify, their music is incredible. It's very much that sort of, it's got like it feels modern, but at the same time has kind of like a Velvet Underground vibe to them. My favorite character, though, is a guy named Joel. Joel is in the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and he is such a quick wit. He's got these mutton chops on him, and he's hysterically funny. He's always wearing some inappropriate sunglasses that look, he somehow pulls off this look. I love Joel. If you see Dig, whether you see the original version or the new version that's coming out, Joel is the standout. One of the greatest music docs ever of all time. The new version of Dig is about 20 minutes longer, which includes like a little 5-minute, like Where Are They Now, which I loved. Chef's kiss. So I've already seen the best film playing at Sundance. It's Dig XX by Andi Timoner, and can't recommend it enough. My my guess is that the reason that they did this updated version is that it will be on, they're going to release it on Blu-ray or 4K, whatever. But the movie was shot, it's very much an archival documentary. It's shot like, Andy spent 10 years following both bands. Okay, so from the mid 90s to like up to 2004, she was filming both bands. And she was shooting with like a camcorder. So some of the footage is like VHS quality. It's so good it doesn't matter. So I know I'm over the top on this one, probably because I've been watching January movies and things are few and far between. But I watched Dig X, Double X, and oh my God, Chef's Kiss, and Michael Talbot Haynes, who is our one of our very prolific reviewers on filmthreat.com. I know that he's going to be doing the review of Dig on the website. He's also a big music documentary buff. I
predict a 10 out of 10 from
no, it is a 10 out of 10. It is a 10 out of 10 music documentary. You know who needs to see this movie? Gary Beekler from Nerdrotic should see this movie. He would love it. He would love it. It reminds you of this era, like of creativity in the 90s, right? Like, and the rivalry between the band, it gets really weird at some points, but I love Dig Double X. It's a movie I plan to buy when it's available, but I already have a standard def DVD of Dig from back in the day because it's a great doc and the music is great. I mean, the Dandy Warhols have great songs. Anyways, that's all I got to say about Dig X, Double X.
So recommendation from Chris Gore.
Recommendation. Let's go to some chats. Then we're going to get more reviews from you, Alan.
Yeah.
Matt Rose Valley. I am the festival director of Shockfest Film Festival. We transparently discuss this exact topic at our festival, mixers, live streams, etc. The short answer is yes, festivals are irrelevant today. I think that festivals need to evolve. Festivals need to evolve into how can we support indie filmmakers. One of the reasons we created Award This, which is Film Threats. People mistakenly always call it a festival. It's an award show. We do Award This to help let people know about certain movies. I think that I'll say this. I think that the major film festivals are less relevant. I don't think they're irrelevant. They're less relevant. And a festival like Shockfest for a small filmmaker who made like, I'm going to go out on a limb and think if you're calling your festival Shockfest, it's probably horror or exploitation. Just a guess. But I think those kinds of like more niche festivals are very helpful to filmmakers. Mm-hmm. Charlie Stevenson says, will Hollywood go shopping for distribution rights at film festivals to have something to put out into theaters? Charlie, you read my mind. No, here's what I think. I think you're going to see without there being a lot of big $300 million movies in production, you're going to see, because the one thing that Hollywood does well that's hard to critique them for sometimes is marketing. The marketing for Barbie should win an award. Mm-hmm. If you love Barbie, you're going to love Barbie. If you hate Barbie, go see Barbie.
And Oppenheimer can thank Barbie for getting
right. But yeah, no, Charlie, I predict that you're going to see some of these festivals like, hey, maybe we want to go and like, because all you do is you buy the movie and then you just put the sort of Hollywood marketing on it, right? Mm-hmm. Patrick Lemire, one of my best friends, managed the Dandy Warhols. Dude, that's awesome. Oh my God. I was playing a Dandy Warhols song just yesterday. But man, see, this just makes me want to watch Dig Double X again. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, Matt Rose Valley, most festivals are run by people who don't think about the bottom line. The bottom line is that the festivals are here to support the filmmakers, and the festival directors don't know how to do that anymore. Yeah. Well, Matt,
ultimately, that's it. Why does your film festival exist? Is it to promote indie filmmakers, or is it kind of, a lot of times I see it as kind of gifts to the community. Right. It's like, hey, let's, we all, everyone in our neighborhood loves this film or these films, let's put on a film festival. And it's really understanding why does your film festival exist, and then building around that, building on top of that mission statement.
But I think if you make that your core mission, like the one thing, I know this sounds dumb and maybe it's like right out of Jerry Maguire. I believe in mission statements. Mm-hmm. I believe that the whole story of you can mock Jerry Maguire for being a lame romantic comedy. The thing that interests me isn't the romantic comedy aspect of Jerry Maguire. It's the business part. It's sticking to your guns and saying, like, dude, I've worked in corporate offices before. I know that soul sucking feeling of what am I doing with my life? I want to do something I love and care about and passionate about. And I've been fortunate enough to build Film Threat over decades into this thing where we are able to do that with people who feel similarly. I love it.
And I feel like the mission statement of Film Threat hasn't changed since you first started it.
Since the very beginning. So Matt, I think if you can get to your core mission, I tell everyone, write a mission statement. I know it sounds lame, but it's like a nation with a constitution. See that document? That's what we all believe in. And that anything that steers away from that document, that's not our mission. Not our mission. You can amend it. And we add like the award show is something that the award show is actually an idea I came up with in 1994. And it wasn't till 25 years later, we actually did award this. So yeah, but like Matt, write a mission statement. It's as weird as it sounds. It's like a constitution. And then what you do is, I don't want to get into.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. Walt Disney had a mission statement. It was to entertain his kids. I mean, that's pretty much what the Walt Disney Company did while he was there. It was to entertain his kids. And now, what is the mission statement of the Walt Disney Company?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and make a radical statement here. I think that if you produce and make children's programming, you should have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Have the maturity to know I've noticed more of a divide between, I am not a young adult. I am an older adult, but I noticed there's definitely a divide between my friends who are childless and people who have kids because I care about I really care about the future. I really care about the future of this country because I have kids that are going to be here longer than I and potentially grandchildren, who knows? So I really care deeply about that. So yeah, Latino Slant, Paulie, my buddy, the Latino Slant. Go to the Latino Slant. Has Alan seen Zorro or Murrieta yet? Come on,
not yet.
Vato.
Yeah, I know. You DM'd me yesterday about this, and I appreciate the super chat. So I'll only respond now to your super chats. I've not seen it, but I think what you told me was there are Asians in these shows, and why are Latinos not in Asian shows?
Well, I'll just say this: what I love about that is I don't ever need to see Zorro or Murrieta because the Latino Slant is on the scene. I'll talk about Dig.
I
love you, Paulie. I'll see you later tonight.
Yeah, I'll try to see it, but I'm in the middle of Sundance right now.
Yeah. Micah F for $9.99. I recently bought the Jungle Book 1967 on Blu-ray, and they actually have a content trigger warning on the slipcover. Contemplating throwing the slipcover in the trash. Sorry, had to vent to someone. Micah, if you're on Twitter, can you please take a picture and tag me?
Yeah.
And could you just say what you said?
See if they have one when you play it, when you start playing it.
Could you? Okay, so Micah, take a picture of it, tag me, just basically what you put in the super chat, put in your Twitter. I want to say something. And thank you, Micah F. That's very generous. Razorburn for 5. Speaking of the Dandy Warhols, Chris, were you ever into the British shoegazer bands? Lush, My Bloody Valentine, Curve.
Shoegazer.
Yes. I didn't know they were called shoegazer, but I know Lush. I'm now it's you created a mind worm. I'm thinking of Lush songs right now. My Bloody Valentine, love them. Curve I never knew about. Didn't know about Curve, but I didn't even know that shoegazer was a genre. Back to Matt Rosevalli, also about Shockfest. We used to be horror. Shockfest today is about providing that necessary shock the film industry is so desperate, it so desperately needs. We're 17 years running, by the way. Well, congrats to you, Matt. Most film festivals don't survive more than 5 years. If you're around 17 years, awesome. Sounds like there's actually, if you go to Film Threat, click on contact, hit us up. If you haven't already, maybe we've corresponded. Let me know what we can do to support the festival. Eric K says, Chris, you know Gary will never watch a movie you tell him to. He still has not watched RRR. It's a weird thing. Like Gary's like, Gary, I know respects my opinion, but Gary, dude, if I'm recommending a movie and I'm telling you should see it, you should freaking see the movie. Thank you, Eric.
I'm sure he'll watch Dig.
And Dig is like right up his alley.
Yeah.
Doug Navarro says, heading to see Pretty Things tonight. And Godzilla -1 minus color tomorrow. Alan predicting it being nominated for everything forced my hand. Well, it deserves to be.
Yeah, it deserves to be.
Oh my God. Patrick Lemire. Anton just fired a guitarist mid-set like 2 weeks ago. Oh my God. He definitely has like some personality disorder or something, but that's almost like his brand. It's almost like his brand. That's crazy.
I mean, look, let's be real. The big creatives in the entertainment industry, a little nuts, a little crazy.
They can be for sure.
They'll be cancelable at some point.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's Dig XX. Watch for it when it comes out. If you have a way to see Dig, you should see the original. Alan, what are you going to review next? Just tell me.
Yes, we'll do Never Look Away.
Never Look Away. Alan, tell us about it.
Let me throw this up on the screen here. But I would suggest, before I talk about Never Look Away, go to the Film Thread interview channel because I interviewed the director of this documentary. I interviewed Lucy Lawless. And we have a lot to say about this film and about Spine of Night. So head over there.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, but Never Look Away is a documentary she did about a New Zealand-born CNN camera person, Margaret Moth. And it basically goes through her life. Margaret Moth is one of these crazy type people. She grew up in an abusive family. As a result, she just became kind of a daredevil with her life. It was all about feeling. She was very promiscuous. She was dating a high school graduate when she was in her 30s. She would just go. She was just into this kind of goth look here and the goth scene, as you can see. But she wanted to get into art, and what she ultimately became was a camera person for CNN. And not only that, she took her camera into the most dangerous situations around the world. She went to Baghdad. She went to, basically when we invaded Iraq, she was right there. And she got some incredible footage because she just kind of, disregarded her own safety and got as much footage as she could up close. And it's amazing because you see a lot of the footage she does, and it looks like it's a movie. It looks like it's a war movie you've seen, except for the fact that it's real. That's how dangerously close she got to things. That explosions, people getting shot, and she was this daredevil. People thought that she was going to get killed one day, and one day she actually got hit in the face by a sniper, and it disfigured her half of her face. And that was, but the thing is, even through all that, and CNN's insistence that she never go out on the field ever again, she did. And that's what this documentary about. It's just incredible. And, and it takes, I don't want to, this really isn't about gender, about her being a woman or being a man. It was just about her mindset and what compelled her to do these things. And one thing you'll notice in the movie is that you rarely see any footage of her. She's always behind the camera, so you see the work she does. And then also, when she got shot, they wanted to reenact that somehow, but they didn't have any money. Lucy didn't have money, so what they did was they built a model of the street that she was driving down when she got shot, and they just built the street in this model. And then made miniature cars to kind of illustrate things, and that's how kind of they told the story rather than doing it through computer animation or animatics. It was done through a model. It's pretty incredible to watch. Just an amazing woman, and then just how Lucy's storytelling is just as incredible as well in this.
So Lucy directed it.
Yeah.
So that's, first of all, I love Lucy Lawless as Xena, Warrior Princess. I'm sure in your interview, I haven't watched it yet, Alan, but it's on the Film Threat Interviews channel. check that out. Please subscribe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, so I guess for her, it's kind of like I mean, what drew her to this topic is what my question is.
It was a story. I mean, this is literally her first attempt at directing anything. And I believe someone we talk about exactly that in the interview. And I believe, if I remember right, it was just presented to her, and she just felt compelled to tell that story. And she literally did start from scratch. And then also the pandemic kind of gave her motivation as well to do a lot of research as well. And a lot of Margaret's cohorts at CNN were involved in as well, like Christian Amanpour and some of the reporters that she worked with on the scene.
Cool. Well, let's pivot and talk about another Sundance movie. We're going to stick with Sundance for the moment.
Yes.
What else? What do you want to talk about next, Alan?
Yeah, the other Sundance film I want to talk about is Exhibiting Forgiveness, which I saw this morning. But it's an interesting tale. Let's pull this one up again, and I'll bring it up. Sorry about that. But it's basically a story about forgiveness. It stars. Let me see. We have to scroll down. Excuse me for a moment. Stars Andre Holland, who plays an artist who is trying to get the final pieces of an exhibition done. And in the process, he goes to his mother's house to help move her closer to him as she's getting older. But the mother had a different ploy, and that was to attempt to reunite him with his father, his very abusive father. And he wants nothing to do with the father. In fact, he doesn't understand why the mother, played by Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor, why his mother wants to not only reconnect with the father, but herself want to reconnect with his father. And it's basically a story of generational abuse. It's a story about fathers and sons, and it focuses on this idea of forgiveness. When someone has done something so horrible to you, has altered your life, you wake up in the middle of the night screaming because of that person, and now you're being told that you need to forgive them. And it's not just a simple fact of, hey, that's what God says or that's what the Bible says, but he's going through a lot of PTSD at the moment, to where it's affecting his marriage with his wife, and the way and affects the way he's trying to raise his son, because it's not easy to raise a son and not pass on the things that he has done. And it just the entire film centers on this idea of forgiveness, and it's a true struggle for the character and for the director who wrote it. This movie is, in a sense, one of those, I've been saddled with this burden my entire life. I need to make a movie about it. And that's what this movie is. And it's quite powerful, and it's quite incredible. And, I could get political about these things, but this idea of, the weight of the past that we carry with us when we refuse to forgive and let these things go, because oftentimes that's what forgiveness is you carrying a burden, using forgiveness to unload that burden and then move on with life. And I feel like that there may be some political and racial lessons to be learned here, because as in America, we tend to carry these burdens of our past for a very long time and can't seem to forgive it. So that's kind of, this is one of the more sentimental films
Cool.
that I've seen at Sundance.
All right. Do you have any more Sundance movies?
No, but there's a zombie one I do want to see. So hopefully by Friday I'll see that one.
What's it called?
It's Handling the Dead, I believe.
All right. Well, we will do we'll do a Sundance Slamdance wrap up a week from today and talk about more films that we've seen. But we're going to pivot and talk about Slamdance. Before then, I just want to say thank you to Clobberin' Times. Love your avatar picture there of a Mr. Ben Grimm, the Thing. It's become a YouTube member. If you are a YouTube member, you get access to our Discord, so you can continue the chat. In addition, I have been posting videos off my phone, videos of events I've gone to, people like weird, just if it's a video that I can't post legally on YouTube, I'm posting it without monetization for our members only. So there you go. And I also want to shout out the more than 600 people watching us live on Rumble. I see you. I see you on Rumble. So thank you for that. We appreciate the support. Patrick Lemire for 199 says, who plays the guitar-driven film threat music? I can't name the band specifically. I literally hired this person on Fiverr. That's Fiverr with 2 R's.com. It's a place to hire creative people. It's kind of a dirty secret of the ad industry. And I hired a guy, I think I maybe paid $50, $100. And you kind of give them like, and I hired this person to write a bunch of songs for me, but I we'll write the lyrics and I'll say kind of the style. He'll give me 2 takes and that's it. And then he finishes it and it's really cheap. And this guy can write jingles. It's anything under 30 seconds. So I don't remember the guy's name, but it's an account on Fiverr. At some point I can find it for you. The actual person who did it. So there you go. Micah F says, Chris, you can't be tagged in photos. Just reply to me. Just at that. Just do at that Chris Gore, and you can so if you reply to my name, I'll see that you replied to me. But yeah, I don't like to tag myself because people are idiots. But thank you, Micah F. All right, let's pivot because we have other movies to talk about, and some of them Alan and I have both seen.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think one of them you and I have both
I think
seen.
one of them we've both seen. What's a good, I guess we're just going to go with that because that's all I have in here. But let's talk about movies from the 2024 Slamdance Film Festival. All right, Alan, Slamdance, for people that don't know, is a film festival that was created by a group of filmmakers whose movies were all rejected from Sundance. This is in the mid-90s. People such as Dan Mervish is one of those people.
Yeah.
Another filmmaker named John Fitzgerald, among others, all got together. It was a group of filmmakers like, why don't our movies get rejected from Sundance? They're decent little indie movies. They decided to put on their own film festival, and they called it Slamdance. It was a rebel film festival. And in this festival, they just showed their own movies. The very first year of Slamdance. This is in the mid-90s. Then Slamdance every year, hey, people actually who can't make it into Sundance, or maybe they don't have the right exact film that Sundance is looking for, they started to get submissions. Now, the Slamdance Film Festival gets almost 8,000 submissions a year. They show more than 25 features. They also do, for people who are unable to attend, the Slamdance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, which takes place during the Sundance Film Festival. They have an online, if you go to slamdance.com for, I think it's like $10-20.
Yes.
You
For
can
the month, yes. Yeah.
for the month, and you can watch all the movies that are playing at Slamdance. No other festival that I know does that.
Right now, you could watch every single film at Slamdance.
You can see the movies that Alan and I are about to talk about. Go to slamdance.com. I'll bring that up in a second. But what's interesting about Slamdance started a movement. Slamdance, in effect, by doing what they did, they started a movement where other festivals began to use the same kind of technique. So spawned from Slamdance came other events like Trauma Dance, just a whole bunch of other festivals that took the whole dance thing. There's even a festival called Dances with Films that was inspired, that Dances with Films actually takes place in Los Angeles. And again, it's all about this whole idea of rejection. Well, let me just say this for a minute. This is really important. There are a lot of people that feel that they're outsiders to the mainstream media. Okay? You can complain or you can do your own thing. The people at Slamdance have been doing this more than 25 years now. Okay? I saw Dan Mervish recently. I said, oh my God, we got old. Because I've known Dan since the mid-90s. And I love Dan Mervish. But all I'm saying is, They started their own thing. Now Slamdance is a festival. It's a screening series in Los Angeles. It's a screening series in other parts of the world. Slamdance is the streaming service where you can see movies. Slamdance does year-round support for indie filmmakers. If my heart is with any film festival, it's with Slamdance because they're no BS and they're punk rock. Okay. I'm selling this hard because there are other areas in the world where the mainstream has rejected outside thinkers. Do your own thing. Slamdance even inspired Matt Stone and Trey Parker to start their own festival called Lap Dance. I went to Lap Dance. This was in the late 90s. And guess what? They did have exotic dancers there. And they had it on Main Street. And I'll tell you from what I know, Sundance hates all these I'll say this. Robert Redford referred to them as parasite festivals that are glomming on to the success of Sundance. And Sundance is sort of like, Sundance is stadium rock. Slamdance is the punk rock at the dive bar. That's why I like Slamdance. Alan, we've got some movies to review, but all I'm saying is you could be inspired by Slamdance. And I think that, and a lot of these movies, they're very low budget, very, very low budget films. Okay. They look low budget. There's a heart to them. There is a heart to Slamdance. My heart is with Slamdance and Peter Baxter and all the filmmakers that are there. And I'm quite enjoying watching Slamdance movies at home on my television, though I'm a little bit wish I had gone because they moved it from Main Street. Remember how difficult it was for parking and all that? They moved it. They moved the festival to one of the hotels. I believe it's the Yarrow, and the Yarrow is this smaller hotel. It's all self-contained. Yes. So you just go to the hotel. All the movies are playing there, and the conferences. Ted Hope is doing his panel there. So there you go. Alan, what film would you like to talk about first?
Sure. Let's talk about I gotta switch over to let's talk about the Death Tour. And again, if you head over to the Film Thread interview channel, I interview the producer of the Death Tour, Chris Jericho. And the Death Tour is basically it focuses on the Death Tour for wrestling, professional wrestling, or in this case, it's independent wrestling. This takes place in Canada, a mecca of wrestling. And the tour basically is run by a famous wrestler who I'm trying to find the name of, and I can't seem to find it. But it's the Northern Manitoba Wrestling Insiders. They go into the northern areas of Canada, the bitterly cold areas of Canada, and basically bring wrestling to the Indigenous First Nations people up there, the Native Canadians. And they do wrestling matches. They basically bring entertainment to that area, and the people there look forward to it every year because they don't get entertainment. No one ever comes out to visit them. These guys are the only entertainment that will come into these areas and put on shows, and so they're very much appreciated. And so it kind of takes you through the process of being an independent wrestler, having to set up. Tear down wrestling rings every night, travel in the frostbitten cold, always in danger of getting into some kind of accident along the way. So it kind of hones in on the life of the indie wrestler. This is kind of considered a rite of passage for Canadian wrestlers, as Chris Jericho went through it, and a lot of people through the dungeon system have gone on this tour as well. And on the other side of it is that these areas, these are areas that they're economically impoverished. If you're familiar with immigrant towns, Chinatown, little Tokyos, little Japans, it's kind of like you're all there to kind of survive day to day, and with the dream that one day you'll leave. And a lot of people who can't leave these areas wind up committing suicide or going to drugs and alcohol. And that's kind of the other side of this, is of how a lot of the people on these tours have gone through these things, have gone through alcoholism, has gone through fits of ideations of suicide, or I'm sorry, of unaliving oneself, and they're just kind of there. It's kind of like a ministry in some way, and so that's what this documentary is about. Is about this tour that occurred a couple of years ago, and again produced by Chris Jericho.
Have I heard of this tour where like people met an untimely end, so to speak? I'm trying to say it in a nice way.
I'm trying to remember if there's a story like that. Yeah. This is a grueling tour. I mean, there are times where the promoter basically had to kick wrestlers out and basically said, don't get on the bus, and he leaves them in whatever town because they're just not
really.
Yeah, because this is a serious tour, because this is how this guy makes money, and if you come along and you're half-assing it, he doesn't want you around because you're just going to infect that kind of attitude to everyone else, and so he kicks him out. There might have been the Canadian Death Tour. That's what it is. Bill S. Preston.
Yeah. Well, look, it's something, first of all, a wrestling documentary. You had me at wrestling documentary. So this is something I definitely want to check out.
Yeah. And definitely some of the great Canadian wrestlers early in their careers have gone on this tour.
Let's pivot for a second and do some super chats, and we're going to keep doing reviews of movies specifically from Slamdance, but I want to hear your comments. Suns and Shadows gifted 1 Film Threat membership. Oh, check out the video I just posted today. Gen Xer on the farm met Chris at Trauma Dance and Slamdance in 2002. Great festivals. Well, I can't say that I remember from 22 years ago, but one of my favorite things is to be at those festivals and hang out with people. There's a cool vibe. I don't know if that vibe exists or if it's all about, you got to talk to me a certain way or, blah, blah, blah. But if you're a Gen Xer, I'm 100% certain we got along hanging out. So thank you, Gen Xer on the farm. And that was like the heyday. It was like that late 90s, early 2000s was really fun. And I don't know if it's as fun as it used to be. Gen Xer from the farm, let me know if that's true. Razor Burns for $2 says Slamdance. I think of the movie Suburbia. There was also like a bunch of others. Like every year there's some new one. There was Slam Dunk. Someone did a film festival called Slam Dunk and showed a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, and it never showed anywhere after that. He did it with, they had the SAG indie contract where the talent, this is like right before or around Titanic. This is the late 90s, Slam Dunk. And they showed this movie one time. The movie was not great. I remember it was just like, ooh, this is a rough, small kind of experimental mumblecore movie, if you know what mumblecore is. But Leonardo DiCaprio was in the movie, so it was like this huge deal, and he was going to be on a panel in Park City. And I think Leonardo was like not happy that this movie was getting all this press. He's trying to build a big career, and he's in this sort of low budget punk rock thing. But Slamdance. I think of Suburbia. I think of Slam Dancing, Razor Burn. So that's awesome.
Also, should mention the Russo brothers are involved with Slamdance. They have a fellowship where they're helping to promote or to mentor filmmakers.
A lot of indie filmmakers. Chris Nolan's first feature film was at Slamdance. It's called Following. It's black and white 16 millimeter. Big Worm, who's a member for 10. Hail Gore and Al. Hail chat. I finally got to watch the new Wonka. I actually really liked it. Don't know if it's as timeless as Jeans, but it is worth a watch, in my opinion. Am I crazy? Roast me, live long and prosper. Alan?
You're not crazy. It is a good movie for what it is.
I agree.
Of the musicals that came out this year, it's probably the best one, not a great musical. But made by the guy who did Paddington, and it has his fingerprints all over it. And it's just fun and whimsical and weird.
I'll say this. I got more choked up watching Wonka, especially with regard to his relationship with his mother and chocolate and what chocolate means. And it's more than just candy. There's more to it, more emotion. I got more choked up and more welled up with emotion watching that with Wonka, with the theme, the pure imagination theme kind of in the background. I got more just filled with emotion than when Han Solo died in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And
Sons of,
it tells that father mother story very well, and she's barely in the movie.
yeah, she's barely in the film. It's sort of like this thread, like kind of like in Field of Dreams. It's about his
Yeah,
relationship with his father, but it's like this thread, and then
yeah.
the payoff at the end. Look,
Oh
when
my
I
god,
saw
that
when I
payoff.
saw Field of Dreams when I was a kid, not gonna lie, cried thinking about my dad. Field of Dreams. God, now I want to watch that movie. The censorship thread in that is really amazing, actually. And
Yeah.
James Earl Jones is so good. God, love it, James Earl Jones. I just watched Conan the Barbarian the other night in 4K. So there you go. Sons and Shadows, who's a member, says most wrestlers come from the indies. WWE, AEW, and TNA are the only feds that starts people fresh without prior wrestling experience. Interesting.
Hmm.
Patrick Lemire says if you live in a small town and feel hopeless, do whatever it takes to get out. It will not get better maintaining the status quo.
Yeah, and I think that's a point well made in the film.
Solomon Thornton says the best wrestling doc, in my opinion, is Beyond the Mat. That one's really good. And there's another good documentary called Backyard Wrestling. You ever heard of Backyard Wrestling?
Yeah,
It's all about literally people who are they'll go to like Home Depot, they'll buy fluorescent tubes, like huge fluorescent tubes, and they make their own backyard wrestling. People get hurt bad. It's violent. So look up Backyard Wrestling. I think that's the name of the movie. It was like a late 90s, early 2000s. Thank you, Solomon Thornton. Jay Price, have either of you heard of the Sidewalk Film Festival in Birmingham, Alabama? Well, guess what, Jay Price? Not only have I heard of it, I've been to it. Birmingham, Alabama is beautiful, beautiful movie theater there. My movie played the Sidewalk Film Festival in 2004, or was it 2005? My movie, My Big Fat Independent Movie. And I knew the guy who ran it, Eric. Why am I spacing on his last name? Amazing
Jones.
film fest. Huh?
Jones or Smith?
Close. But yeah, the Sidewalk Film Festival is fantastic. And Jay Price, if that's in fact a picture of you, you and I have met at Dragon Con, and I will be there in September. Thank you for that. Solomon Thornton, the best. Oh, yeah, we already got to
Yeah,
that.
you got that.
Alan, let's pivot. What movie are we going to be talking about
All
next?
All right. Let's do let me
You can just tell me.
Oh yeah, here we go. It's Petro. This movie is going to piss off a lot of the political folks out there. But this is about the 2022 presidential election of Colombia. It was a battle between basically since. Okay, so Gustavo Petro was running for president under the Socialist Party in Colombia, and what makes that so important is the fact that since the 70s, Colombia has been run by the Conservative Party, and because there was some election shenanigans, a group formed called I believe it's M19. A bunch of terrorists. They were terrorists. They were guerrillas, and Petro was a part of that. They were trying to fight against the election corruption at that time, and he was involved in that. A lot of his friends were killed in wars, in battles against the government there, and you know the kind of the history of Colombia with the cartels running a lot of things, and there came a point where the last conservative president, or I should say, not that one, but in kind of the early 10s, there was a concerted effort to basically demobilize M19 and kind of give them some amnesty and allow them to run for office. And the promise to run for office was taken away until finally now in 2022, Petro here decides that he's going to run. He's going to run a socialist label. And if I mean, you could easily Google this, but he wins and is currently the president of Colombia. And the reason why I found this documentary so interesting was it's not a political documentary in the sense of where we hear his positions. this is why the Socialist Party is so great. But it was just following a campaign of an unlikely candidate who ultimately wins in the end. And of course, the documentarians didn't even know he was going to win. And the other thing is, why am I so up on a socialist here? Well, I see politics as this pendulum, and it swings from left to right. And anytime that pendulum swings too far to the left or too far to the right, you have a problem. And the idea of politics was that you need that opposing party to bring everyone back to the center. And that's kind of what was going on in Colombia for a very long time. There's a great deal of corruption, a lot of, not extortion, but, where you're stealing tax dollars for your own personal purposes, where you are actively murdering your political candidates. That's the state of which the Conservative Party was at in Colombia at that time. And Petro here, being the socialist, the leftist, he's the one who ran on a platform of bringing balance back to Colombia. And again, he ultimately wins, and it ends there. But you know that if you follow Colombian politics, he's very powerless, because they got the presidency, but they still have a conservative Congress and a conservative Supreme Court that he has to battle. And so this is really about following an unlikely candidate who ultimately wins, and what he did and how he was able to ultimately win the popular vote and become president. And I do interview the filmmakers. We go into a lot of I kind of egg them on a little bit politically in this one. And you can go to the Film Threat interview channel, and we talk to the filmmakers of Petro.
Cool. All right, let's switch to another film here. Just give me a second. Why did that even, I don't know what that was going on there. Let's talk about a different film. I have not seen this one, but apparently you have. I started to watch this movie, and there's a reason I turned it off. Okay. Okay, Alan. And there's another movie that's actually not on here that we're supposed to.
Did I put it on there?
No.
Should be on there. Are we talking the George Lucas one?
No, that's there. There's another one.
Okay.
Anyways, tell us about Sam's World.
I haven't seen Sam's World.
Oh, you didn't see Sam's World?
No.
Okay, my mistake then. Let's talk about George Lucas.
Okay.
You could bring that one up.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, let's talk about this Slamdance film. It's a documentary called I'm George Lucas, the Connor Ratliff story. Connor Ratliff is a comedian, actor who's had a few bit parts in movies. His claim to fame is he was working on Band of Brothers, which was produced by Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks fired him. He never actually saw Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks fired him, and he said the reason he was fired, he was told this, is that he had dead eyes. Whatever, it is what it is. But Connor Ratliff went on, after having bit parts in movies, he started to perform at UCB, which is the Upright Citizens Brigade in New York City. He became a staple there as a performer in different improv comedy groups. And one of the things he created after the Star Wars prequels came out, he created a show that ran for years called the George Lucas Talk Show, in which he played George Lucas. So he got a bunch of sort of gray in his beard and his hair, and he comes on, and he has a sidekick who's dressed like Watto, who does a Watto accent. Republic credits are no good around here. I need something more real.
You should say his first co-host was Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, his first co-host was Jar Jar Binks, and then a guy dressed as Watto. And what he does is, the thing is this, it's actually like a real talk show. So what he does is, the audience knows it's fake, the people that are on, but he stays in character. So he's he describes himself as, I'm George Lucas. I'm George Lucas. I'm a retired filmmaker. And then he goes on and he brings on actors, comedians, interesting people. He had a couple of the cast members from SNL And he does the show, but the audience is in on the joke. He plays it 100% straight and just does a talk show as if George Lucas was doing a talk show. The pandemic happens, which ends up not only in the show ceasing its run in live, it's with a real studio audience.
Yeah. The theater was showing in closed up during the pandemic.
The theater ended up closing because of COVID. What he did, though, is he did continue doing the show online as a streaming show. It's Connor's story. It's very heartfelt. He goes back and visits his parents. It takes place slightly before the pandemic and then during it. And it's kind of, how do you emerge from that? How do you remain sane in the midst of this? And Connor is a legit huge Star Wars fan. You see him like going to thrift shops, trying to find like cheap items, because what he likes to do is give stuff out to the audience. I found it very endearing. As a Star Wars fan, documentaries like this remind me of why I really like Star Wars, or used to like Star Wars, the old Star Wars. It brought me back to like the time when it meant something to me. Now I'm sort of dead inside when it comes to Star Wars, mainly because of Disney, the Disney sequels. I don't need to regurgitate all of that, but this story is one of those like, oh yeah, remember when we all loved Star Wars back in the day? That's what this movie reminds you of. I was tickled, entertained. Why did I say I was tickled?
Yeah.
Why did I say I was tickled? Some of the stuff is, well, there's some good
like
stuff.
Like a lightsaber?
With a lightsaber, exactly. But I don't know. Alan, you also perform improv comedy. So what are your thoughts on I'm George Lucas, the Connor Ratliff story?
Yeah, I was not as impressed with this documentary. It was fine. He seems like a nice guy. The thing about these documentaries is this thing is mostly about the guy Connor Ratliff, and
right.
And they attempt to show, basically the only thing they show of the show are the openings, the introduction of the guests, and then the end. Honestly, I kind of wanted to see a lot more meat as to what the show. I want to get a vibe of how this talk show actually felt and how it looked, and we didn't get that. And the other thing is, he plays George Lucas the whole time. There's an entire section up front that talks about how this guy is a brilliant improviser. He's this great improviser. He's this brilliant improviser. He's with this. We never see him improvise. And essentially, the only reason I know he's great is because the people in the documentary told me he was great.
I will say this as a choice for a documentary filmmaker, front loading it with just talking heads saying how great he was, terrible decision. Now, I will say this.
You need the evidence. You need to put some evidence up there.
Just show it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, just show it. Don't show.
He may well be the greatest improviser ever, but I don't know that. And quite frankly, a lot of I do an improv show, very, very popular in San Diego. We have a 100-seat theater. It does very well. And one of the reasons why we're so popular and one of the reasons why we have a good audience is because we kind of backed out of the improv community. We just do a comedy show and it's a business, and all we do there is comedy. But I certainly have been involved in the improv community. And this brings back a lot of those memories. A lot of, I'll say it can be toxic at times. It can be weird at times. It can also, but I think the greatest sin of the current improv community is it's self-congratulatory. Everybody tells each other that they're great. And the reality is they're not. And there's just no real sense. It's like they'll tell each other they're great, but then when they're alone, they'll rag on your show. They'll put your show down. And that's just kind of the vibe I got from this. Because UCB, as great as it was, ultimately, ultimately the original guys from UCB left. They're tangentially involved, but they're not around anymore. And UCB is great when you have the big boys, the old Saturday Night Live guys doing shows. I think it's a mix, and it's just a mix of quality of the graduates who come out of UCB nowadays. So
yeah. Here's what I'll say too is because I did some improv for 2 years at IO West, which stood for Improv Olympics.
Yeah, I took a class there actually.
Yeah. So I did a show there. I did 2 shows actually. I did a podcast called Pod Crash, which was every episode I'd have a different guest on the show. Or no, excuse me, I was a guest on a different podcast. So and then I would take clips and run them. It was weird. Anyways, the other show I did was called Comic Book Live, where we got suggestions from the audience and we just performed a comic book live on stage. Here's what I learned from that. Something in the moment in front of an audience, improv, you will have people howling how funny something is, and it will never translate to video.
Yep.
You will watch video of like, oh my God, we killed tonight. And you rewatch the video and you're like, yeah, it wasn't really funny at all.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't
or better yet, a lot of improv videos, promotional videos are the performers doing wacky things on stage. I'm going,
yeah.
No one wants to see you go up on stage and do wacky things.
Yeah, it didn't really. The one thing is like you said, there's two flaws with this film. One, front loaded with all those people saying how great it is rather than showing it and letting us decide for ourselves. The second thing was when they showed the comedy, there wasn't enough at the head and tail at the beginning and end of the shot, whatever it was, to see that it was genuinely funny. Now, in those settings, people are drinking, people are like in a studio audience, and improv is not like you prepare to a certain extent, and then it's like whatever unfolds on stage, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes the audience is laughing because they've had a few. So and I love seeing that, like the you are there and there's that nervousness of everyone on stage is just making this up. Like when I saw you, it's a like Suns and Shadows, it's a you had to be there sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's 100% that 100% that. But so if you're not familiar with improv comedy, you're going to look at this and go, well, where's the funny part? I saw through that, and I actually really enjoyed him, the guy Connor, like seeing him go places, seeing him like going like thrifting to buy old Star Wars stuff was really fun.
That was pretty cool.
That was cool.
He does Star Wars giveaways during the show.
Star Wars and then they show his parents, and his mom makes the best joke in the whole movie. They introduce the parents and the mom and dad is there. And it's like, like the dad says, I'm so-and-so, I'm Connor Ratliff's father. And the mom says, well, as far as you know. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
It was good. And then the dad like stops and kind of looks at her. And then he makes another joke. And he's like, I'm Connor's dad. I'm the one who raised him. So you see like the mom and the dad have this kind of a tit for tat thing, that was the funniest part of the whole movie was the mom and dad. Yeah. But look, I enjoyed it. I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah. And I will say from a Star Wars standpoint, from everything we've talked about Star Wars over the last 2 years, it's very neutral when it comes to Star Wars. But it does play homage to Lucas Star Wars more. Yes,
it doesn't get into anything of the new, the prequel. It's just like, hey, we love Star Wars, but it's not like overpraising or whatever. So there you go. All right, we're switch gears. We're going to talk about one last movie that I saw, which I think you saw at Slamdance.
Maybe. Depends on what, because it's not on the list.
I added it.
Okay, so I don't know what movie you're talking about.
All right. Citizen Weiner.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
If you could bring that up for a second. Bring up for me, Alan, if you would, and share screen. Citizen Weiner is the story of a kid named Zach Weiner. He is a real person. His father is the creator or one of the writers on Dora the Explorer. Zach Weiner's this kid who's an actor who's been he was in a movie that was on Hulu. And so he's in this movie that's on Hulu where it's a comedy film. What's the name of this film? Pledge is the name of the movie. So he was in a movie called Pledge. Zach Weiner's this comedic, gangly, skinny, goofy young kid. And what happens is the pandemic hits. And Zach, who's bored, And this is all real, by the way. He decides to run for city council. So he brings in his friend, Joe Gallagher, who is he's one of the writers on this project, right? He comes in, he's his friend, he's an actor, he's going to help. Sarah Coffey is his communications director. Aaron Dalla Villas plays security. There's James D. Watson, who's the finance minister. And Zach Weiner, and to be clear, this all really happened. This bored actor over the pandemic decides to run for city council, and they follow with a documentary his run for city council. So he decides he's going to make a movie about running for city council while actually running for city council. Does that make sense? It plays like an episode of Veep, and it's insane. So he finds out that there's these like campaign rules where you can't run ads on these bus stop video walls. So he's like, oh, I won't run ads for my campaign. What I'll do is I'll run ads for my movie playing on Hulu, which ends up getting him in trouble with the New York Post. He's accused of impropriety. It plays like an episode of Veep. It's absolutely hysterical to the point where I'm like, is this real? And then a sex tape leaks. Zach ends up, dude, Alan, you gotta see this.
Okay.
A sex tape leaks where he basically went to see a dominatrix, and then the dominatrix like filmed him being tied up like naked to a chair. And the dominatrix says, I have the video that candidate Zach Weiner doesn't want you to see. And she posts the video on Twitter. And then suddenly he's on Stephen Colbert's show. He's on Seth Meyers' show. They're all making fun of him. He's got this, like, the campaign, like this woman, Sarah Coffey, she's the communications director. She's like a TikTok influencer. So she gets all these TikTok influencers to come to a debate. It is like, it's like they on purpose sabotage their campaign, and they're terrible. They're awful at campaigning. So to be clear, I'm sitting there, is this real? He decided to make a movie about running for city council while actually running for city council. So he ran for city council. I don't want to tell you what happens, but it's hysterical because they go through the process. You see him like getting signatures. He gets all the signatures. He files it at this office. He's doing all these things in the community, but he's an idiot. He's like a comedic actor who has no idea what he's doing, and he's surrounded by other actors who are also idiots. But he really ran for city council. It's a real campaign, and it shows you the inside of politics and what it's like to run for city council. It's only a comedy because they're all morons. So I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I can't wait for you to see it, Alan.
Yeah,
Please
I'm gonna see it now.
Yeah, it's and it's like 90 minutes, tight 90-minute, and it's like an episode of Veep, except he really ran for city council. And they get to the election results. They don't mess around. So I had a lot of fun. The director is Daniel Robbins. Really love this movie. I feel like it's almost a hybrid of like, there are some things that were written, like his speeches and things, and they do all this stuff, but it's like, but he really ran for city council. So what do you call this? It's not, and the sex tape. Oh, you see the sex tape. They show it to you. It's shot, and then it's like all the different news reports. Really funny. Can't recommend it enough. A movie that probably wouldn't have gotten to Sundance because there's no social message or anything. It's just super, but it does show you the ridiculousness of politics at a low level.
Yeah.
So
there you go. The question I have is, you said that the candidate and his staff are idiots. Compared to what?
No, that's what I'm saying is it's so real. It's like it just makes fun of politics and how stupid people are. Like, but he's genuine. The guy, Zach, like he's totally genuine. His mom is in the movie. His mom is amazing. His mom totally, like, I don't want to ruin a bunch of the stuff. All I'm saying is the mom is in it. It's so fun. Citizen Weiner, probably worth Slamdance, getting the Slamdance thing just to see Citizen Weiner. I haven't dug into the short films yet, but strong recommendation for it. Check it out. Best thing I've seen at Slamdance so far.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna watch it because he has an unfortunate last name in New York politics.
Oh no, they talk about that like, oh, no, he's like, I'm not related to the other guy, Anthony Weiner, because everybody remembers Anthony Weiner, no relation. But it's so funny that Weiner is such a common name with certain.
Yeah, because I think we have one in LA as well, who's in politics.
Yes, he's just as loathsome. No, except this guy's not loathsome. I don't think this kid Zach Weiner is not. Anthony Weiner is I think an a-hole. But there you go. Anyways, really,
his ex-wife would tell you that too.
Well, yes. Did he go to prison?
Yeah, he did.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think prisons. Yeah, there you go. All right.
And his wife's campaign didn't turn out well either.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to your final super chat.
Some old scabs here. Yeah.
Contrarian 420 for 5 says, I disagree. Grow where you're planted. No shame in living a small town, simple life. True contentment isn't environmentally dependent. Yeah, I think you can. I mean, look at like there are filmmakers that are all over. I mean, John Waters is in Baltimore, Maryland. You know, Richard Linklater is in Austin, Texas. A lot of filmmakers that kind of, you know, plant seeds. So Contrarian 420, I agree. There are film communities that can be found anywhere. Hey, it's me in HD. Holy hell, they weren't kidding. He's got serial killer eyes. Patrick Lemire says UCB has gotten way into politics.
Yeah.
Like if your team isn't diverse enough, you get pushback. Many of original teams are now on sitcoms, would not be allowed on main stage now. You're not wrong. You're not wrong on that.
Well, I remember, you know, during the whole George Floyd thing, I think they took down Second City. They took down Improv Olympic. They took down another one. I think they tried to take down the Groundlings at the same time.
Yeah.
Just and all over politics.
Yeah. Mike says, I came to the stream late, but I just wanted to say about the film festival, maybe they should start a streaming service like pay-per-view instead of having people truck all the way there. Some festivals do start a temporary streaming service. Like for 1 month, you can see all the movies playing at this festival. That's what Slamdance. Yeah. That's Slamdance right here. You go, slamdance.com, now streaming.
Yeah, I believe even if you sign up today, you'll have 2 weeks to see everything.
You have 2 weeks. You got to watch everything. But hey, Citizen Weiner, you've already got Citizen Weiner, the George Lucas documentary, the panels and whatnot. So there you go.
Yeah, and $10 is half of movie ticket.
What's that?
$10 is half a movie ticket.
$10 is half a movie ticket. So there you go. All right. That's going to wrap it up for us today. We were going to talk about, Alan was going to talk about actually, was going to talk about Origin.
Oh, I thought we moved that to Friday.
We're moving it to Friday. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. But I want to thank everyone here. I got to thank our mods, Lord Thoth, Gridiron Masters, Latino Slant, Paulie, shout out to you. See you in a few hours. Ms. P Coffee, Glenn, our producer. Shout out to you, the audience, for sticking around. We'll see you Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time. We are reviewing, first of all, we're going to review a few movies that open on Friday, including American Star, starring Ian McShane. We're also going to talk about Origin because Alan is seeing it. And we are going to talk about Dune. Dune Part 2. We will have seen the 10-minute preview. So it's all about Dune on Friday. I'm gonna be reviewing some bad Dune knockoff movies. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Come to our Friday Dune special.
Godzilla, by the way? Did you mention Godzilla?
We are gonna talk. Also, we will review Godzilla -1 Color. We will also review that movie. Alan,
as a special treat, I will be seeing that in Orange County with famous YouTuber Mexican Iron Man.
And there you go. All right, Alan.
Let's get out of here.